And I don't understand, because as a businessman, you know, the first thing you do is if you're losing $500 a week and you know what's causing it or where it's coming from, you work on stopping it. I would love to see one of these days them come out and say, like, we didn't lose a dime in welfare. We didn't lose a dime in Medicaid. And a lot of these things are simple things to fix. Did you know that Medicaid pays for almost half of all births in the United States? 64% here in Mississippi.
Of what? Yeah.
Medicaid pays for all births.
Oh, births?
Yeah.
Medicaid?
Yeah. 64% here in Mississippi, 72% in Arkansas. My buddy, who's the president of a chain of banks, makes a lot of money. And he had a kid a couple years ago in Picayune, Mississippi. And he's got insurance. And he went to pay. They said, we put it on Medicaid. He goes, why would you put mine on Medicaid? I got insurance. He goes, oh, we put everybody's on Medicaid. And he says, no, I got insurance. And then he got a cancellation from Medicaid 3 weeks later in the mail, that your Medicaid account has been canceled. So it's actually, to me, I think a lot of it might be that, you know, some of these hospitals, it's easier to build a government. 100 years from now, people are going to think we were the craziest people around, killing 1 million kids a year. And we're in the 21st century. You know, there's actually prevention, there's education. I've got 2 daughters, one's 21, one's 24. Neither one of them had kids. We grew up, you know, giving them education, and you have the technology now. I'm like, both my daughters have an implant in them that they can't get pregnant for 5 years. Now, is that the perfect solution? No. Well, it's not so much the money I worry about as much as the kids.
I would just like to hear how you think, or how you feel about it. Is our education system today is very liberal.
Yep.
It's very left-wing.
They're teaching socialism in college and high school.
What can we do about that?
Get rid of the
Well,
teachers.
unfortunately, you need to actually, I'd say, get rid of the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. and push everything down to the states, you know, and that way, well, for one, it frees up a lot of money for the states.
Right.
But the trouble is, again, you know, the more money you put in the education ends up going to the administration. Where we need to put the money in is the teachers, so everybody has a great teacher. You know, if we keep paying for, you know, just more administration and more administration, we're never going to get a better education.
Right.
And unfortunately, by having the federal government over the top of it, you got a state government like Mississippi, you know, they could change up the education. We should be giving out vouchers, because, you know, if your kid is in a school here in Picayune and he's not doing good or doesn't like it, and it's up to you if you want to move him to Slidell or anywhere, you should be able to get a voucher and move to that. When I had a daughter that was in private school, Hope John Paul in Slidell, and a daughter that graduated North Shore. Both of them, whether it was private or public, both of them finished great, because of course they wanted to have a good education. Both finished with 4.0 students. They both, one's a senior in college right now, the other graduated ASU last year with a master's. She works at Bloomberg News in Washington, D.C. now. Trying to get over that.
Why does it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for education in a college?
Well, for one thing, the trouble is that it's because the government has taken over the loan system and stuff, so the colleges just keep charging more and more, knowing the government's going to back all these loans.
Well,
You know,
Well, time to
just
stop
the other
that.
day, I took my daughter over to USA, look at school there. One of the things they showed us was their exercise facility they had for all the kids.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
no,
That's
It's,
what all the colleges are doing.
it's like a
Yeah.
$15 million complex, you know, for these kids. Oh, we can't compete with other colleges, you know, if we don't have stuff like this. Well, then don't.
Do you know, in the county where Oxford is with Ole Miss, that is the biggest county with the most amount of money being spent in it right now for construction, of $1 billion. My daughter just went 3 semesters to ASU there to get her master's. 3 semesters, $80,000 for 3 semesters to get her master's.
How long is it going to take her to pay it off?
Could be a while, you know. I might help out a little bit, but after this campaign, I might not be able to. But no, I think the trouble is again, you know, when you got this wide open where kids can get loans by signing, an 18-year-old kid can sign a $100,000 loan, well, you know, they're going to pay, okay, I'm going to pay $100,000. And that's the trouble, that's the reason why I'm pushing term limits so much, is the fact that, you know, you get people in there that don't ever want to leave. And everybody says, oh, well, we have term limits, it's called elections. But the trouble is, 98% of incumbents win. Why is that? Because they got name recognition, they got money. And like in this race here, there's 4 people in the race. You know, and to tell you the truth, he's only running on his name recognition because he ain't spending no money. My campaign did an FEC filing against him for campaign violations and a House ethics violation. And he actually has, 40 years of business, I know how to look at a financial statement stuff. I looked at his expenditures on his FEC, and he's paying rent to this thing called Green Acres LLC at $3,000 a month. So I looked at the first 9 months of 2019, he's paying himself $27,000. So I went in and looked at who owns Green Acres LLC. Well, lo and behold, who owns it? Steven Palazzo. Then what is Green Acres LLC? It's a 40-acre farm in Perkinston, Mississippi. Then I go in and look at his financial disclosure, and it's listed on his financial disclosure as an asset. So it's illegal to pay yourself rent for somewhere you're living. So I filed a FEC violation against him. And he's finally came out today with a news place in Hattiesburg that's going to run a story here finally after all this time. But he finally came back, and the guy called me this morning and goes, well, his office debunked all that stuff. And I told him, I says, so do you actually think he was going to call you guys and say, oh yeah, we did all that? I said, of course he's going to debunk it. You think he wants this to be out there? I said, but I can guarantee you. And I called the FEC today, and they said, oh, we'll be investigating that, and our investigators are very good. They're going to go to the neighborhood where his houses are, talk to his neighbors and stuff. I said, well, good, because you don't hear nothing from you guys, so just want to make sure it's going on. But again, it's just he made a $120,000 expenditure on his FEC filing at the Hyatt Regency DC, 120 grand, called it Canada Travel. That stood out like a sore thumb. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, how did you spend 120 grand at the Hyatt Regency DC? Now his excuse was, and this is back in the third quarter last year, his excuse was to the TV station was, that was an accounting error. It was actually $1,197. And I told them, I said, well, first thing I would do is say, send me that bill, let me see it. Because he's an accountant. He pays tens of thousands of dollars to his own accounting firm, Palazzo and Company. He has an FEC accountant. He has a treasurer. And none of them caught $120,000 off. My accountant, myself, when you're doing a month end or a quarterly, you've got $500, there's a debit and a credit.
Right.
If you're off 120 grand, somebody's gonna see that.
It's a rounding error.
Yeah. Well, and you know what he said? I didn't even notice that until after I got the filing. So that means you did the month end, the quarter end, and the year end, and none of your accountants caught that. So boy, that's something screwy there. So that's what I mean. That's why I don't understand why the media hasn't got on this. I mean, we've been pushing it hard, and this used to show you how corrupt he is. We actually had a one paper pick it up in Jackson, Mississippi. His office called and asked him to take it down, and they did. I talked to the owner of the paper, and he goes, oh, we're not into politics and stuff. But, if somebody's telling you to take down a story, don't you think that's a little strange? Aren't you guys journalists? Don't you look at anything? And he said, well, we don't want to be involved in it. We're not even in that district. I said, but you're still a journalist, right? And it's like, boy.
Really?
But no, you can't get it out.
It's bad in Mississippi.
Oh.
Investigative journalism.
Well,
It really is.
that's another point.
The U.S. Attorney's Office in New Orleans has, a half dozen assistant U.S. attorneys
Right.
for a 9-parish area. FBI for the Public Corruption Squad has 6 people for
Right.
a 9-parish area. There's no way that they
No.
can keep up with that.
And the bad part of this too is, it's hard to, how do you increase that? I mean, without putting more money into it. And then where's the money go? I actually talked to the lottery director here, and, we're supposed to get like $180 million a year from the lottery. And I asked him, so where's that money gonna go? And he goes, well, half's going to the roads and half's going to schools. And, I asked him, I said, I would feel comfortable about that, but I know it's just gonna go into general fund. So how do we make sure that money's actually going to that? And then by going to the schools, does that actually help them any? Because if you're just going to send the money to the schools without
They'll take money
earmarking
out of
it,
the general
yeah.
fund to
That's what I
make
mean.
up for the loss.
That's what happened in California. A lot of that, especially with the governor that they have now, Newsom.
Oh, yeah.
It's going into the general fund so he can spend it on his bullet train or whatever
Oh,
else
yeah,
he
yeah.
has in his head that he's got to do.
Well, that's what I mean. That's the bad part. I mean, I even told the guy, I said, I would see that as a better use for that money. Why don't you lower taxes? Because that's something you can see, lower the, the income tax, lower the business tax, you know, to attract people.
I lived in Arizona for a long time, lived in Fresno for
12
30
years in
years.
Congress, 12 years in the Senate.
Do you think you're gonna really get anybody up there to vote that?
I worked for that steel
Well, you know, that's the
fabrication there
thing, you know,
for a long time.
you've actually got
What's that?
I worked there for,
Republicans supported 86% and Democrats supported 75%.
Oh, did they?
that steel
So
fabrication.
if you get there,
Okay.
the idea is to get there, and I'll go door to door to every congressman, every congresswoman, and every senator. And I'll sit down with a scorecard and try to get a consensus of what will get them on board. And then, you don't gotta get all of them, but you get 2/3 of them. And there's 80 senators and congressmen already that support term limits there.
So why don't we have them?
Because nobody pushes it. I mean, it's just like Palazzo. Palazzo and all these other candidates, they all say, I'm for term limits, but we can't get it done. So what they do is they, like Palazzo, he files his bill every year and does nothing about it. You know, you've got the people backing it, but yet the politicians won. So if you sit down with each one of them, and here's my idea is that, look, you got some career politicians there that probably don't want to leave yet. So I say, how about we put the term limits, we pass the bill, and it starts in 12 years. Then in 12 years, we know we got term limits. So everybody's getting another 12 years in, and then we can start where, you know, we have term limits. I don't know if that's legal, but I mean, that's one of the ideas I think of.
So the long-term die out.
Right.
And the new.
Quicker the better, but
It's
you
a
know,
grandfather.
some of them won't make it 12 years, which is good. But the good part is that would give them the incentive to say, well, okay, well, it's not gonna affect me because I've already been here 52 years, you know, that'll make it 64.
Yeah.
But, you know, without term limits, you're never gonna get Congress to work again. All it is a power struggle. Do you know who the longest serving congressman is right now? He's a Republican,
Yeah, I can't remember.
52 years.
Yeah, not.
Head of the house, right?
No? You don't even know his name. Nobody knows his name. Don Young. He's from Alaska. Been there 52 years. You never see him, you never heard of him. He does nothing, but he's been there 52 years. Why do we need somebody there for 52 years? And see, if we can get term limits passed for 12 years, we can eliminate the congressional retirement. Because you don't need retirement after 12 years. Put that money back in the budget. You know, again, that way you're not going there to enrich yourself. I don't want to go there, I'm running for 2 years right now. If I can't get that done in 2 years and I don't get reelected, I don't care. You know, I mean, I'd like to, but, you know, I'm going there to get something done. I'm not going to get a career.
Tell me, I've always looked at it as two different philosophies. One is a guy runs for Congress and he says, this is what I believe in, and he wants people that believe what he believes to vote
Right.
for him. And
Right.
then there's the other kind of guy that says, I want to serve you. Tell me what you as my constituents want me to do, and I'll do it. Now,
Right.
that's the kind of congressman I want. What kind will you be?
Well, for one, if I did what everybody wanted me to do, I'd pull my hair out because everybody wants me to do something different. I mean, if I say term limits are 12
You
years,
do what I want. I don't do what
okay, well, I'll just do what you want only, so you guys know that.
I'll keep up with you, Carl.
But, I mean, even on term limits, I put 12, why not 8? Why not 2? Why not 4? Why not 6? Like, well, you know, we gotta start somewhere. I said 12, the reason why I say 12 is because 12 years gives you enough time to get something done, and then you can go home. You don't need a retirement from
And I
it.
think it takes 12 years probably.
Yeah,
To learn the ins and outs of
I think so
Congress.
too, but I don't think it would even take that long. But the trouble
Probably
is, you know,
not.
getting people to do
It
it
takes you
like
a while
shorter.
to even get assigned to a committee.
Right.
You know, and especially when you work your way up to being a chairperson or what
Right.
have you, you know, so it does take some time to.
Well, I know, you gotta have some seniority. If everybody's there for 2 years, who's gonna have seniority? I mean, who's gonna be picking the committees and stuff, you
12
know?
years, that's six terms for a congressman.
Right.
Only 2 years,
Right.
2 terms for a senator.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of, you know, you get elected for 2 years, you spend 2 years raising money.
Yep.
And you get elected for 2 years.
Well, and then some of them will get to move up to the
When they've been there
Senate,
40 years, I think.
where
they
you
should be
12
up.
years there too.
But I think the thing is, you know, I would actually like to see it change to 4-year terms for Congress. So they're not sitting there running
Running every 2
continuously.
years.
Basically, run.
Yeah.
This gentleman had a comment, and just, you can't get into everything that we'd like to know about you. And you're gonna, as long as.
I'll
you-
try.
But how do you feel about the First and Second Amendments?
Well, of course,
I
needless to
didn't hear
say.
that. What he said, the what?
First and Second Amendments.
Okay.
Well, of course, I mean,
A lot of colleges don't let you talk if you're a conservative on stage. They'll beat you, they'll throw you out. And
But
that's
if
it.
you're carrying, they won't do a thing.
No, and that's why I do.
well, again, that's the Second Amendment. I'm a concealed carry permit holder. I was actually doing a Second Amendment Facebook town hall here before I came here. I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. I think the trouble we have is we're trying to penalize the 99.99% of legal gun owners for what 0.01% of people do.
If you train people with firearms, make it easier for good citizens, honest citizens, to get the firearms and protect themselves, you won't have to worry so much about the other people.
Yeah, I remember growing up, the kids in high school.
Sixth grade,
they
we all had to take
and
hunter
they had-
safety.
They had shotguns or whatever.
We used to have the bow and arrows we used to do those
in
with,
their-
you know?
in their pickup truck.
We didn't have a problem when I was a kid in school. None of us never thought about carrying a gun to school.
Oh, yeah.
They used to be in the rifle rack in the pickup.
Yeah.
My daddy carried it like that.
I wouldn't put one in my pickup now. They'll break the
They would
windows out.
steal that and.
Yeah, no,
One thing, I wanna say something about I love Mississippi,
so do I.
and I've only been here 2 years.
Thank you.
I moved from a state where you couldn't walk down the street without somebody watching you. I love Mississippi, and the other thing about Mississippi, since we're on guns, is Mississippi has a law. It's called the Church Protection Act, and I think it was I can't remember the date, so I'm not gonna try to guess it.
Right.
But it is one of the most fantastic laws that they have in this state, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I'm sure you're familiar with it.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. I should have brought that. I should
Ah,
have
come
brought
on.
it. I didn't.
I don't know everything, I'm sorry, but I don't know everything.
I should have brought it tonight, but you brought up the church shooting.
Right.
You don't know, when you go to church, whether there's gonna be a shooter there.
Right.
There's crazy people in this world.
Yeah.
There's people in my church that carries guns. I mean, a bunch of them.
Well, that's what this law is allowing us to do. And it doesn't hold the church accountable, it holds the other
Right.
person accountable. And as long as you're trained, and as long as the church has the procedures in place, you're perfectly legal in carrying a gun to a church.
I don't know how to carry
People
mine.
get killed in these gun-free zones, you know?
That's right.
I think it's stupid, because, you know, again, when we grew up, well, everybody in school had a gun, you know, but nobody ever thought of shooting each other,
That's right.
you know?
That's right. That's what we were just saying. You had your rifle.
We just got married in August.
Oh,
We've
congratulations.
known each other all our life.
Congratulations, by God.
And we were traveling across the country. My wife said to me, I guess she's never been married to a concealed carry person, but she said to me, I feel more comfortable knowing you're carrying.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would have heard that from her, but she was.
Well, I feel naked when I go to other states and I have to fly somewhere and I don't have my gun with me. Yes.
I love President Trump. I mean, I don't like his tweets. I don't like some of the things he says. But you know what? Nobody's perfect.
No.
How do you feel about President Trump?
Well, to tell you the truth, I never liked him until he ran for office, because he's a businessman.
I never gave him a second thought until he ran for office.
Well, I mean, I never watched Apprentice. I thought he was arrogant and egotistical and stuff. But as soon as he took and ran for office, that's who I supported from day one. Because to me, that's what we need. We need business people there. We don't need politicians. We don't need lawyers. We need business people there that can go there and get something done. And that's exactly what he's doing. Now, is he 100% right all the time? No. And like everybody asks me, well, will you support him? Well, yes, probably like everybody else, every other Republican, I'll support him at least 95, 98%. It just depends on what the law, what he's trying to pass. But you know, because to me, I think if it's a good idea and it's a Republican idea, I'll vote for it. If it's a bad idea, I'm not going to vote for it. If it's a good idea from a Democrat, I'll vote for it. I'm not going to vote for a bad idea, no matter who puts it out there. And I'm going to vote for what's best for South Mississippi, what's best for Mississippi, and what's best for the United States. Not what's best for the party. If it's best for the party and it's good for us, then I'm for it. But I'm not going to be just a rubber stamp to vote for everything. You know, I believe in looking at both sides of everything, finding out what's the smartest answer, and then taking it up. I'm a businessman. I see how much that helps our country, because you got that common sense of a businessman. All these politicians I talk to and stuff, all they're looking for is to try to get reelected. Even, you know, I like everybody in the campaign except for Palazzo, but I like everybody in the campaign. I talk to them. We'll all, whoever, if it gets into a runoff, both the other guys will support the guy that's in the runoff. So we're all for getting rid of Palazzo.